uh, you're gonna not be able to graduate, and your parents are gonna lose their jobs and so forth. And so that's when very quietly Dr. Brawley said, well, I'm supporting my students. And then he introduced those of us who were there, and there were about 4 or 5 of us from Clark. And so Benny Mays looked at me and he said, oh my God, not Carolyn. And of course, I was very polite to him and explained that how we had organized and that our teachers were behind us. In fact, M. Carl Holman was appointed by uh, Dr. Brawley to be, since he was a younger professor on campus, to be the liaison person to lead us that we could talk to, and then he could talk to them. As it turned out, M. Carl was my favorite instructor because I was an English major, and I pledged, to Delta Sigma Theta, and most of the people who were in the English department were very active because the way we had decided that we were going to write the proclamation was that each one of the departments of English would, the various schools would gather up the students and come up with the bullet points and the rationale for why we were involved. And um, as an outgrowth of that, because there were very few places that we could meet, we didn't want to be secretive about it, but we knew that if some of the people knew what we were doing, they were going to be, trying to ask us not to become involved. And as it turned out, his house was the place where we met in order to do the newspaper. And the newspaper, of course, was the beginning of the Atlanta Inquirer. And it was so funny because Julian, Michael's father, wrote a lovelorn article. And you would write him and tell him your problems. But then he would find a way of interweaving some tidbits about the movement, into the articles. And Julian and Charlene Hunter Galt, John Gibson, who I mentioned before, and Jim Gibson, and my sister and I were very active in, proofreading and coming up with stories about how to get other people involved. And we ended up having several marches, but the largest march that we had was in the quadrangle at Atlanta University then, which was still in existence. And we had 4,000 different students who participated, and we hit 14 different places that day. The place where I went became really a pivotal place in my life was Rich's Department Store. And I also sat in on subsequent occasions at City Hall cafeteria, which was about the most racist place you could go, and also Fulton County cafeteria, which was, if there was any other worse place, that would have been it. And then there were those who went to places like the Pig Rick and Dusty Maddox place and all around the city. And our movement was televised. In fact, my mom said that she could have sworn she saw me being kicked in front of the Planters Peanut store, which was right across the street on the same side as Rich's. And I assured her, no, Mother, I was not kicked. But I made the mistake of telling her that my hair was messed up because a Ku Klux Klan member spat in the top of my head as we were marching at the same time, counter marches. That was toward the end of the movement. And the people who were involved eventually in the various schools became very, very close friends. We transcended the school rivalries and became very, very close, and we maintain those relationships even to today. Morris Dillard was very active. He was in the English department at Morehouse. there were those from Spelman who were very actively involved, and some of them were high school students, and there was another coalition of city students who, at the time, went to one of the 3 various high schools that were open. So we maintained relationships. In fact, Keisha's mom, Sylvia Robinson, was a majorette at the Washington High School, and she was very supportive of the movement, and her family at Clark. So it was just like a family affair, and there had been so many different things that we saw growing up that our parents participated in, like the jitney program, the integration of the buses. In fact, one of the reasons why I think that I was so involved in the movement was because there was an Atlanta transit system bus. We used to have trains that came down Fair Street. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knew I should have got some water. Yeah.
Okay.